This here is the Volkswagen T-Roc, and Volkswagen is calling it an SUV, one of the 4 SUVs it has promised to launch in India over the next 2 years. I wouldn't go so far as to call it an SUV. I think it's more of a crossover. But names aside, whether you think of it as an SUV or a crossover, it doesn't matter. Because there's 2 things that I know for sure about this car. 1, it looks bloody good. 2, it's a lot of fun to drive. Welcome to the Evo India review of the Volkswagen T-Roc. Let's dive right in. Why do people buy SUVs? They buy them for the road presence. Now the T-Roc, it doesn't have road presence in the traditional sense, in that it's not large or imposing, but it looks so different from anything else on our roads that you will be noticed. In terms of styling, the T-Roc is typical Volkswagen in that there's a lot of clean lines and tight bodywork, but with a dose of funkiness added into it. Up front, you get these LED headlamps which are integrated nicely into the grille. You've got DRLs which are integrated into the bumper, and below that you've got a skid plate with black cladding running all across the car to make sure you don't confuse it for a hatchback, but you know that it's something a little more rugged. When you come across to the side, you'll notice one thing. It's not very long. It's just 4.2 meters long. Now I know what you're thinking. There's a lot of SUVs that cost less than the T-Roc which are bigger than the T-Roc. But who said price has to correspond to size? Have you seen how small a Porsche 911 is? In terms of styling, the same elements continue here. So you've got this tight line running across the doors, and you've got flared arches. You've got a blacked out roof, and you've got cladding at the bottom. In the wheel size, well, it's 17 inches with fairly high profile tires, which I'll come to later when I'm driving it. And you come slightly more to the back and you'll notice this sloping roofline. It's almost reminiscent of those SUV coupes that do so well in the luxury segment. In here, you'll also notice disc brakes, which is full thumbs up. At the back, again, it's more crisp lines, clean lines. You've got this sharp line running across the width of the boot. Below that, you've got the Volkswagen logo and the T-Roc lettering, which I think they look very classy. Overall, the T-Roc, it looks like a really stylish car. I think it stands out from anything we've seen on our road. Not too many small cars have the amount of flair and funkiness that this car has. Let's talk about the Volkswagen T-Roc's interiors. Now, for starters, when I got into this car, I found it to be a very familiar place because a lot of these parts are straight out of the Tiguan Allspace. So stuff like the steering wheel, the stalks, the instrument cluster, the infotainment screen, the aircon controls, the gear selector, it's all out of the same parts bin that Volkswagen has used for the Allspace, which is a good thing because the Allspace, it sits a segment above the T-Roc, and therefore all of this is very high quality stuff. In terms of the layout, everything is very simple, very intuitive. You've got your steering mounted controls for volume and to control the screen up here. You've got automatic headlamps. As with all Volkswagen, your headlamp controls are here on the side. You've got automatic wipers. This being a CBU, you also get some active features. So if you click this button here, you can throw up the lane assist feature, which uses sensors to scan the road and make sure you're within your own lane. Here you've got an 8-inch touchscreen. Like I said, it's familiar. It's got good touch sensitivity. You can connect your phone through this with CarPlay, Android Auto or Bluetooth, however you like, and play your tunes up here or throw up your navigation. Down here, heated seats. Now, not so much of use in the Indian summer, but come winter, if you're in the north or in one of the colder parts of the country, I'm sure that's a useful feature for you. You've got a 7-speed DSG gearbox, which I'll come to when I'm driving the car. And otherwise, the layout of the dash is pretty nice. In terms of cubby holes and spaces, you've got pretty large door pockets. I could fit a 2-liter bottle in here. You've got cup holders in here. You've got a tray to keep your phone up here. You've also got storage under the armrest, though it's not very large. And in terms of quality of the materials, everything feels very solidly put together. So it's typically Volkswagen. All of this, it's all hard plastic. So you see, it doesn't feel It doesn't have that premium touch to it in terms of the softness of the plastic, but it is well put together. It's very solid feeling and very nice. In terms of connectivity, I must also add that you've got 2 USB slots here. As for the seats, I really like them. They're supportive, they're comfortable, they've got a lot of stitching and elements on them, but you've got good amount of bolstering and you sit quite well into them. Now when it comes to the back seat, this is what you get. In terms of space, it isn't as much as say a Creta. I've got about 2 inches of space between my knees and the seat in front of me. The seat is set to my position, but otherwise it's fairly comfortable. There's a good amount of support in the seat. Again, the bolstering even in the back seats is very nice. You don't move around too much. It's not too wide, so 3 people in here might be a squeeze. I can move this up and you can fit 3 in here, but this is slightly raised and you've got this tunnel in the center, so it may not be the most comfortable position for somebody for a long drive. In terms of features, you've got blowers in the back that you can control the intensity of. You've got a 12-volt socket over here, but there's no USB port in the rear seats. You've got these cup holders here, so 2 cup holders that you can actually adjust the width of, so you can take these elements out and adjust the width of your cup holder depending on the diameter of your cup. You've also got door pockets, but they aren't too big, so you'll be able to fit a reasonably small size bottle in here. And you've got a panoramic sunroof, which helps because it really does free up a lot of space on top. Now the driving. Under the hood is a 1.5 litre TSI Evo engine. And no, I don't just like it because it shares a name with this magazine. I like it because it's really good. 148 horsepower, 250 Nm of torque. This little engine, it really moves. The performance, it's so typical of these small turbocharged engines. You step on it and it gives you a kick and it likes to move. This particular 4-cylinder engine actually likes to be revved a lot. So despite it being turbocharged and having those typical turbocharged characteristics, it's got a very strong mid-range and it does taper off towards the top end. But despite that, it likes to be revved all the way to the 6,500 RPM red line. The gearbox itself, it's the gold standard for dual clutch gearboxes, the Volkswagen DSG. The shifts are crisp, they're quick, they're exactly how you want them to be. This engine, it's also got cylinder deactivation, so when you're just cruising along, it'll deactivate 2 cylinders to ensure that you get better fuel efficiency. Now the chassis, that is what the T-Roc really nails. So to complement this already fun engine, you've got a really sorted chassis. The T-Roc is based on the MQB platform, and the MQB platform underpins a lot of the Skoda, Volkswagen, even Audi cars, and we know it to be a very sorted platform. In here, I particularly like it because it's so reactive and so enthusiastic. It's a really playful little thing. The steering, it's quick, so when you turn the car in, it really points its nose in and goes in with enthusiasm. And overall, the car, it just feels nimble, light on its feet, but very connected and tied down to the road. It gives you a lot of confidence to push it hard in the corners. When it comes to ride quality, okay, over bad roads, there's a slight firmness to it. It's very well insulated, the cabin, so you don't hear too many clangs and clongs and thuds into the cabin. The high profile tires, I must tell you, do a really good job of cushioning the ride, but there is that slight hint of firmness. It's not soft, that's for sure. But all of that means at speed, it's really planted, it's really tied down. This is a CVU, remember, and it's made for Europe's roads. It does a surprisingly good job on our roads. It gives you a real sense of confidence when you're driving it fast on the highway at speed. It feels planted, it feels very European. So what do I think of the T-Roc as a package? When it comes to the mid-size SUV segment, a lot of buyers are looking for value for money. And when it comes to sheer bang for buck, something like the Creta or the Seltos, they're unbeatable. It's why they're doing so well in our market. The T-Roc, it takes a slightly different approach. It's for a different kind of buyer. It's not for somebody who's looking for bang for every rupee that they're spending. It's for somebody who has different priorities, who doesn't mind trading away that tall, imposing stance for something a little more cool, or who doesn't mind trading away the space in the cabin and the long features list for a more sophisticated, dynamic package. That is what the T-Roc prioritizes. It prioritizes the driving experience, the engine, the chassis, the way they're married together. It really, really works. The build quality, it's really solid, very European. And the way it makes you feel special.
Subscribe to the Evo India channel and hit the bell icon to keep pace with the thrill of driving.